All right, so it is 11:03. Let's go ahead and get started. Welcome to the first cataloging meeting of 2025. So this is my friend Louise, who is now a cataloger. So hopefully this will be kind of a short meeting with the holidays and everything going on. We didn't have really that much happening, but some significant things. Um, so Kate, you just want me to go ahead and run through this,
Sure, no
everything?
problem.
All right, so cataloging committee. So update with backstage authority control. So obviously the contract has been signed. I talked to someone at backstage to set up our profile, and then Kate helped me go over that. And then Rogan was able to send them a test review of 5,000 random mark records um, from our OPAC to run through their profile that we set up. And so right now we are at the review stage. So we have gotten the sample back. And I've looked over it a little bit. I sent it to the cataloging committee members this morning. So we're all going to look over it a little bit, see if there's anything we want to tweak in the profile, because the profile it's pretty in depth. It covers a lot more things than I thought it would. And so that's where we are. So I will keep you guys updated as we go along. Hopefully there won't be that many things to uh, edit in the profile, and then we will get it going, hopefully within the next month and a half at the latest. So it's
Yeah,
still
I was
happening.
very impressed with the reports that we were getting from backstage, and this sample set looks great. I think this is actually going to be this is going to turn out to be a good thing for Missouri Evergreen, I think.
Yeah, I think really with Mark closing and us going to backstage, it's going to be really an upgrade for authority control with us just because of the reporting they offer. So not only do they do all these things, but then I can be sent reports that are like, oh, look, these are weird things that didn't match anything. And then I can go in and look at those as I have time, like, oh, so I think this is going to be really, really great. So we're on the way. Um, of course, we will be doing our annual upgrade of the system. First, that happens in the test server, so that's going to be happening over Tuesdays, the 16th, the 17th. Then we will have a month to kind of check out the test server in 3.13 before it goes to the live server at kind of the end of February. So that's happening. If you guys want to read over the release notes, Kate has linked them in the agenda. I didn't see anything too crazy, but we'll see as it gets upgraded and we are actually in there playing with it. But just know that that is happening. We do it annually, not a big deal. And we are always behind the newest release because we don't want to be that cutting edge and having to mess with so many things that are going on. So we're a step behind what the actual release is, but yay. So consortium cataloging me news. Certification is going great. We're getting so many people certified and recertified. So you see the numbers tick up each month. So just be aware of that. If you have questions or anybody at your location has questions, please direct them to me and I can help them with their certification, getting it started. Because I feel like there's always somebody with a question, and that's totally fine. Just please contact me via email and I'm happy to help. Regional trainings, I am looking to set up the regional training dates for 2025. Those usually happen in the spring and early summer, kind of before summer reading kicks off, because then it gets really crazy at library locations. So those dates are TBD. They will probably start trickling out this month, and I will send emails as they do. But I wanted to ask you guys what you would like to see at regional trainings. Usually, when I do a regional training, it's just kind of the greatest hits. So questions that have been asked a bunch to Cat Help or to me directly, or things that I've noticed that people are just struggling with. That's usually what regional training is. Of course, there will be those things and going over certification, but I also wanted to ask you all if there's something particular you would like to see covered in regional training. So I have made a Google form. If you follow this link, it's really easy. It says, hey, recommendation. And then the next question is kind of, has this been covered? Yes or no, don't know. And then can I contact you if I have a question about exactly what you would like covered? So it's super easy. So if you all would like to fill that out, if you have a recommendation for training, please let me know, because regional trainings are really, they're for you guys. So whatever you have problems with, whatever you want to see, I am happy to edit work to whatever you want to see. So let me know, use the form. And yes, you're also, I mean, you can always email me directly, but forms are fun. Cataloging Connect. So this is just a reminder that there is a Equinox training portal. This is made by Equinox. So by Lena and Jennifer, I think specifically. I will click into it here, and it is MEC specific. Okay, so this is for us. So anytime Lena would say in training, oh, there's a handout for that, handouts are in here. All sorts of things are covered in here, not just cataloging, right? So introduction, OPAC, circulation, of course, cataloging, admin, reports, everything is covered in here. And I just wanted to remind everyone that this is available for you to use. It is password protected, so it does have a username and password. And I am going to send those out to the ME catalogers list at the end of this meeting. But there is a wealth of information in here, guys. This thing is fantastic. And I just want to stress that if you have a question, this is another resource that could possibly answer that before you pull your hair out or have to put in a help desk ticket. Like, there's so much in here to use. It's really kind of set up like it's a LibGuide, I guess. So all sorts of things. Let's see. Okay, moving on. This is going to be probably the quickest meeting ever, guys. Like, I don't know if I should apologize for that or congratulate us that we're getting moving right along. Okay, so I wanted to talk about catalogers breathing fire and talk about a couple bugs that specifically affect us. So the first one here, there we go. So the 006 book format triggers wrong icon. And it's not technically a wrong icon. It's just that currently when you have a book that maybe has a CD, so it's set to the right type in the fixed fields, but it also includes a CD, so maybe it contains, an 007. It triggers the wrong icon. So we would like, in a perfect world, for the system to know, hey, it is type A or whatever that is book, but it also has a CD and maybe have both icons. Currently, the system really can't do that or can't do that all the time. So if you would add heat to this, the more heat that we add to these, the more likely it is that they take a look at it and poke it and get it to work. And this is just something it's not wrong necessarily, because I mean, it does contain a CD when it comes up with the CD icon, but it's a book with a CD. So it's just not right. It's not incorrect, but it's also not right. So that's the first bug I wanted to talk about. This one gets brought up. We get a lot of questions, I think, in Cat Help about this at least a couple times a year, and it's just how the system works. So let's add fire to that and see if we can get that one fixed. The second one here, there we go, is an annoying thing if you have something that has a really long contents note or has two separate things combined in it that each needs their own contents note. So the 505 is the contents note. And when you have something really big, they give you the option of splitting it into two contents notes, because in some OPACs that just reads cleaner for the patron. However, it only shows the first contents note then if you're doing that. So that's unfortunate. Or if you have a combined thing and you have two 505s for one book and then another thing, it's still only showing the first one, and there really should be showing both. So this is another one where, is it right? No. Is it wrong? No. But it's very annoying specifically for the patron. So if we can add fire to that and see they could poke it and correct that, that would be amazing, because that is something that is slightly more forward facing and does affect the patron. All right, our third bug. This is a really annoying one. So mark records not automatically deleted when the last URI removed. So usually those 856s, once those removed, it's supposed to trigger that there's nothing attached to that record and the record can be removed. It's not necessarily doing that when it should all the time. So then you have these empty records basically floating around in the open. And it's really annoying, right? So when we do searches then on the back end, we're seeing a bunch of empty records that shouldn't necessarily be there. So this would basically say, hey, poke around in there, see what's happening, because it sometimes works and it sometimes doesn't. And I'm not sure what exactly is triggering that. So again, adding heat to this one would be really helpful. It, tells Equinox, hey, we would like this fixed and looked at. And this one really affects us. I do go through the catalog and try to delete these in batch, but it takes a really long time to batch edit things in Evergreen. So please add heat to this. Please and thank you. Do we have any questions about the bugs or the Equinox training portal? Leah, I said, can we add library thing and web GUI links to the cataloging resource tab on our website? We absolutely could. I will make a note of that. And then I think is that Ron? Do you update those? Because I will then have to poke Ron and ask him to update those. So two-step process, but we absolutely can.
Okay, I was looking for it the other day, and the OCLC classify was the only thing on there, and I'm like, oh my
Oh, yeah.
gosh, what was the website they told us to
Yes,
use
yes,
now? And so yeah,
yes.
if that'd be handy.
In OCLC, yeah, they killed that. And yes, we should update that. So yes, absolutely. I will make a note of that so that gets done. Okay. Wazoodles. Does anyone know what a wazoodle is without having to look?
This was a
I
new one
can't,
for me.
I can't remember who. I apologize. Who they were like, they sent me this, and I would like to add it to the catalog. Can you help me with that? And I was like, sure. What is that? um, I had never heard of that. It's a thing from Playaway. Let me actually let's Google it so I can show you a picture. I should have linked it. I apologize. They look really cool. Um, but I feel like the naming of these things has maybe gotten out of hand. And so here we go. It's basically like a little speaker thing that you can set so multiple people can listen to it. There's all sorts of things on it. There could be, look at this, podcast, music, games, all sorts of things. But somebody had got one gifted to their library from Playaway, because as you can imagine, they're kind of expensive, right? Um, but there is one already added to the catalog in case you have questions about what this MARC record should look like. So uh, that is there. And I'm going to go ahead and add it to the MARC crib sheets, even though I don't imagine these catching on quickly or a lot of people getting them. I will go ahead and add it to the crib sheets just in case you have a wazoodle. And you need, also, every time I say that word, it makes me laugh because it's absolutely gibberish. Um, so yes, does anyone have questions on a wazoodle? It's basically a speaker. Playaway keeps coming up with newer and more interesting ways to confuse us, and this is their newest iteration of that.
Heather said exactly what I was thinking, which it looks like a Simon Says.
Yes, yes, it
Or
does.
like a
It's a
Bop
little
It.
tiny one. Oh my, oh, guys, I think that aged us.
Maybe.
Yeah, people now know how old we are because I don't think Boppets have existed for a while, but yes. My
Retta
Simon,
had
yeah,
a question. Do we need to delete the MARC record if we are the last library for now? It's still automatically doing that for a regular MARC record. These are specifically those ebook records that have, really ugly 856s in it and that kind of thing. Your normal run of the mill bibs, if you are the last library that has something and you have deleted that, then the bib will automatically delete.
yes, it should delete like normal. These are generally rogue records that shouldn't have been in there anyway or had a weird 856. But yes, normal ones, if you're the last library, it should delete. Let's cross your fingers because we always know how that works. It should be deleting on its own. It's just those weird ones that are a pain in the butt. Okay, moving right along. speaking of Retta was the last one who asked me this question. Somebody else had also, all of a sudden, people are bringing in records from, I don't, maybe OCLC, maybe Sky River, doesn't matter, but they're importing records and they look really good and they're saving them, but they don't happen to have an 040. And I don't know where along the line, because I don't believe it's us deleting them. They just happen to not have one, which is odd. So what happens when you're bringing in these records? Well, they do have an 040. All MARC records do have a real 040. However, if you're bringing in a record and it doesn't have one, go ahead and add one like you would if you were creating a MARC record. So you want, the A, the E, the language, and then your library code right at the end. You don't have to necessarily go out and find the correct 040, right? Because sometimes they're lines and lines long if that record has been around for a while. But please add one if it's not there. I don't know how this is happening. It is weird. It is technically a required field, so I'm not sure why it would be sneaking by anybody's radar and they would be taking it out or not adding it. But this is a weird thing that's been come up over the past couple months, and I thought it was a fluke until more people started asking me about it, which I like to pretend things are flukes until multiple people ask me, oh, that's just not something that's happening, but it's happening and we have to fix it now.
Braden put a correct example of a built 040 in the chat. Thanks, Braden.
Braden, you're my hero. When I went to talk about it, I couldn't even remember what the correct fields were. So Braden is amazing, and that's what it should look like. It should have English. It should have that it's RDA, because yes, we do RDA records. And then he said, that is your library's OCLC symbol. So thank you, Braden. You are amazing. Most of the time, this is not happening. Most of the time, the records are coming in as normal. But if this does happen, please add the 040 like it was an original record. I actually have a correctly formed 040 saved to my desktop just so I can highlight it and copy and paste it in things and don't have to remember on the fly what they are. I suggest doing that for certain fields. It's just way more helpful. So this has been a very short but maybe content heavy meeting. Does anyone have questions? This may go on record as the shortest cataloging meeting, which I didn't realize when I was doing the agenda.
I looked through the chat and it looks like we're all good. Somebody did ask about the passwords for the Equinox training site, and I said that the username and password will be sent out in a separate email after the meeting.
Yes, I actually have made that email. Past Liz was smart. I already made it, scheduled the email, so at noon exactly, you will be getting the username and password to the training site along with the URL again. So good job, Past Liz, because future Liz was maybe not going to remember that. But please poke around that site, see what's on there. If you have any regional training asks for things to cover, please use the form or email me. And that's really all we have for this month. I think with snow and everything else, we have just been in the doldrums of winter and getting back into it. Do we have any questions before we say kick this pig? The next meeting will be as normal in February. It will be February 10th at 11 a.m. And of course, you can always reach out to me or Cat Help. Okay.
Liz, Retta has a great question.
Ooh, okay.
When will we get new passwords for baby cat, basic cat, and advanced cat?
New passwords?
Well, I'm assuming, so the way I'm assuming this is going to work is that we will have to collect everyone's logins and change the permissions need to be changed. So you won't necessarily have a new password, to my understanding,
yes.
But your permission levels will be set a specific way.
Yes, and that I'm not sure. I will ask Jennifer about that because she did say in the new year that it's going to be happening, but Equinox is going to do that for us, change those over to the new permission groups in like basically large buckets or whatever magic they have on the background. And nothing should change for us in the front end. Your password, your username and password will be the same. It will just magically change over to the new wording that's happening. But I will ask Jennifer because she did say the new year, and now that it is the new year, I should probably ask when that's happening. So I would imagine sometime in January. Good question.
When you say change over, it's just going to add that catalog permission, correct? It's not going to remove, like if you have multiple permissions.
Your other permissions will stay there. So let's say you're an advanced cataloger, but you also have CERC.
Yeah,
This
it
will
won't
just
replace.
affect the catalog. Yes, it
Okay,
will not
cool.
change your CERC. It is just going to update to the new cataloging permission group that exists
Okay, thank you.
and rename it. Yes, no worries about that. Otherwise, man, could you imagine the anarchy that would happen?
And just, I feel the need to say that, if you come across when we do this, which it, hopefully it will be soon, but I think Liz is a little more optimistic than I am that it'll happen in January. If you come across something that you used to be able to do that you can't do, that is something that we all need to talk about and we need to discuss, because the whole point of this is we have to start clamping down and being more serious about our permissions. Everybody should not be able to do everything. That's just the way it is. That doesn't mean that I want to take stuff away from people. And as far as cataloging, if you're an advanced cataloger, you should be able to do all things cataloging, you know. But something, I guess my point is, if there's something that you used to be able to do that you do regularly and now you can't do that, of course, let us know before you send something to Equinox about, hey, why can't I do this? Because we might be able to either have an answer or we might be able to go ahead and do something about it. These are bridges we'll come to when we get there, but I do anticipate some lucky person will be like, I can't do what I used to be able to do. So I do anticipate that happening.
Liz, okay, my question is, we only have one login for cataloging. And so then therefore the baby cat people and then the basic cat and then the advanced cat, will they have different or what? I guess I'm not totally
This is
understand.
So what should be happening is people shouldn't be using multiple logins. So if you have people using all same logins, I would go ahead and create users for each individual with a cat who's doing cat things. Equinox can't do that for us because they don't know.
And this is not necessarily a cataloging thing. This is a Missouri
Yeah.
Evergreen thing where we are very much trying to get across the board. People should not be sharing logins. Now, in certain circumstances, like maybe your CERT computers or something like that, that's different. But if you're sharing a cataloging login, you really shouldn't be doing that.
Okay, well then, I guess at some point I need to whoever I need to talk to about getting those logins, different logins for something. If it's later on, Liz, that's fine. When we're not into this, and that way don't take up all the time for the meeting and so forth. But we're only using one
Okay.
for
And
CERC, one for, which is fine for
Okay.
CERC probably, but
Yeah.
for cataloging, we're only using one.
I think a lot of people like in the beginning were, and that is kind of like kept happening because more people, but if you are a cataloger, you should have your own login, whether it's your name or maybe cat admin and then cat 1, cat 2, and you assign those to people, whatever. But each individual cataloger, if you're doing something cataloging permission wise, you should have your own login. And to create like a login, it's actually, we make it harder than it is. It's just creating a patron. It's creating a new patron, and then you give them the permissions that they should have. So Retta, you and I can talk off screen or whatever and get those set up because I'm happy to help with that as much as I can.
Okay.
But just in life for Missouri Evergreen as something that's going forward, we're trying to separate everyone out so that people aren't willy-nilly having permissions and being able to do things they technically shouldn't be able to do.
Well, I don't want, I mean, not that anybody on staff will do anything wrong, but there's that possibility
Yes,
that they can do an accidental thing or they get a little slap happy. I mean, I could get slap happy too, in doing something and they think they can do it and they're not doing it correctly.
exactly. Or let's say somebody leaves and it's one of those people, maybe there's like 5 people using one login. If that one person leaves the library, technically that password has to change. It should change because you don't want them to be able to log in once they've left. This like is just a whole security permissions thing in general that we need to get better at.
Yeah, this will actually help pinpoint if anybody has an issue, like problems
Yes.
doing something. You'll be able to tell who is actually making those mistakes. Not
Well,
that that's what
and
we use, that's not what we use logins for, but, you know, as managers
the
sometimes.
the fact with the 040 field thing, I didn't know who put that in there, and wasn't upset necessarily. I was kind of first, and I realized that it probably wasn't the cataloger here.
Yeah.
It was a children's library late person who did it, but they probably didn't realize what they had done or whatever that might be. So those types of things,
Hmm.
and some of my circulation staff um, are doing things that are in the cataloging, like changing, doing stuff with buckets and changing the call numbers when they take it off the news shelf and stuff like that. That's what I'm concerned about. And like I said, they probably won't do anything wrong, but it's
Yes.
those possible.
So those circ people should, if they are allowed and to do cataloging things, whether they have cataloging certification or if they just need baby cat, those people this needs to be talked about probably in the circulation meeting. Also, we should be using separate logins in many instances. Sometimes in circulations you can share logins, but if you're doing cat permissions specifically, you should not be. So, and with the 040, Retta, I have encountered it bringing in a record from somewhere else and it was deleted in another system and then bring it in and then it's still deleted. So it wasn't even someone on our side deleting it, it was missing weirdly. So, but these are all things that we can clamp down on and not in like a harsh way, like in a figure this out where it's happening kind of way.
Right.
If we
And that's
have, yes,
fine.
yes.
I just was wanting to know, and I have some new people coming in as cataloging basics, and so that was another thing I was concerned about too. So that's all.
Yeah, so if there's enough people who have this question of how to set up accounts for their staff, we can actually have like we can schedule another Zoom and we can all come in and be like, this is how we do this and this is how we set it up because there are directions, but it's helpful kind of if somebody helps walk you through it too. And I know this is something that happens at libraries. It's just something we need to. 2025 is the year of we're permissions for cataloging are getting sorted out and we're fixing it. It's happening.
Because Liz is right, these are just patron records, but there are, for the staff ones, there are just a couple things differently that you need to do. You
Yes.
have to have what is it? A work.
Set your workstation or home location or whatever it is.
Yeah, something like
Yes.
that, where you have to tell it where you're allowed to make changes to, essentially.
Yes.
Can I add 2 cents? We
Mhm.
until recently we only ever had like 3 logins, which was a holdover from Mobius, right? They were just like, here, circ, cat, admin.
Mhm.
And then when we were like, but cat won't let me do reports, they're like, okay, just use admin. And so our IT guy is working on creating new logins. I think he's already gotten most of our admin staff as cat or circ or whatever permissions they should have. And now we're going in for like the circ people because it really is super helpful. Like Kate said, from a manager's point of view. And it's not like I ever want to like, oh, I'm gonna catch you doing something wrong. It's like, oh, how can I help this person figure out what they need, like what they are not understanding about whatever process it is, right? And so we put when he created ours, he used our library short code, which is like CGPL, and then mine is like CGPL Humphrey D with capital H, capital D. And I really like that because that way, if somebody sees a record that I have screwed up, they can be like, hey, I can be like, oh, okay, cool. Because when I see something, it's super helpful to know who to contact and be like, hey, did you know, whatever. And so I really like when usernames have the like something that identifies the library and who that person is. Just my
Yeah, if
2
you're making
cents.
these new accounts, don't do like Livingston Cat 1, Livingston Cat 2, that kind of thing. Try to be identifiable so that if there
Well,
are
I mean,
questions.
Livingston Cat 1 is identifiable-ish if it's only assigned to one person. I mean,
Right.
because I don't necessarily, when you're making a username, I don't need to know that it's Darcy, right? I just need to know, everyone just needs to know it's coming from Livingston or it's coming from Jefferson County. But on your end, you would know who that person is. So it's going to vary library to library, but we need enough information, obviously, so that if we see this username making mistakes, we know at least what library to contact through their cataloging contact. And then that person, that manager, I'm assuming, would reach out and say, hey, Joe Schmo, Jane Doe, did you know you're doing this? Let me help you. Does that make sense?
Yes. Yes, it
Darcy,
does.
I love the idea that they did put the OCLC shortcode. That's genius. I would have never thought to do that, but obviously that makes a lot of sense. Everybody be more like Darcy and less like Liz.
That's what I tell people. Not really, though.
Yes. So do we have any more questions? I am happy. I will email anybody in the chat who has said, oh, we have this issue too. I will reach out to you. I will read through the chat after the meeting and I will reach out to people and say, hey, let me help you fix this. But this is just a good thing to be doing. And so then think if you're getting a new employee, and let's say it's a catalog employee, this could become something of the onboarding process is where you set up their new login ID, whatever, in Missouri Evergreen. That would be, and then let's say then they left, then you would know, hey, I need to like expire or turn that person off so they can no longer log in. So this should just become something we do in the process.
Well, your really short meeting turned into a regular meeting.
Well, I'm
'Cause
glad. I'm glad
we had
people
great
had
questions.
questions.
Yeah.
Oh, Heather, that's yeah. Okay. So if anybody has any more questions about these profiles, how to edit them, how to set them up, yada yada, I will reach out to those who talk to me or us in the chat. But feel free to email me directly and we will set something up and I will get you guys squared away on how to do this. Because once you understand how to do it, it's very easy. But if you're doing it the first time out of the bag, it seems really difficult. Trust me, I've messed several up the first time I've done it and had to go back and correct myself. So do we have any more questions about permissions or otherwise? Okay. Let's say going once, going twice. All right, so we will see you again February 10th, same bat time, same bat channel. You know where to find us. Have a good day, guys. Good luck shoveling yourselves out completely.
Thanks, everyone.